As I demonstrated in the previous video, histograms are the least helpful exposure tool that you can use. But sometimes, for whatever reason, you just can't avoid it and you have to use your histogram to judge your exposure. In this video, I'll show you how to use the histogram to get accurate exposures that will produce more reliable results than just going off of ETTR or ETTL. So the problem with ETTR and ETTL is that they are all content dependent. As soon as your framing changes, the amount of highlights change and your exposure changes accordingly. So you need to have a system that's not dependent upon your highlights. And that's where this tool comes in handy. This is an 18% gray card, and you can pick it up from Film Tools or B&H or Amazon for about 20 bucks, and they come in packs of 2. Another really helpful tool is the DSC Labs one-shot chart. On one side it has, a gray card, and other side has a color chart that makes it super handy for grading too. This gray card represents middle gray, or your mid-tone values. So if it's exposed properly, it should look like a gray card in your scene. Surprising, I know. This is the tool you're going to use to ensure that your exposure remains consistent. To use this gray card, what you want to do is you want to place it in your key light and make sure that it's as evenly lit as possible. Realistically, while you're out on location, you'll never be able to have it perfectly lit, so just get it close enough. Oftentimes you can just rotate it or tilt it so that as much of the key light is hitting it as possible. Now you'll take your camera and you'll fill the frame with the card, edge to edge. You do this just to make your life easier. Unless you fill the frame with a card, it can be hard to tell where the card falls in the histogram. Now adjust your exposure until there is a sharp spike in the center. If you happen to be using a DSLR, then you can use the exposure meter on the back of your camera as a second reference point. The little arrow or flashing block should fall under the 0 or very close to it on either side. After you've achieved your exposure, you are now set and ready to roll. When you change shots or your framing, as long as the gray card still falls on the middle of the histogram, you know that your exposure levels are the same. If you change shots and the card no longer falls at the same exposure level, well, now it's time to adjust your lighting. So that's how you can use your histogram to get an accurate exposure and maintain consistent results, regardless of the composition of your frame. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comment section below, and then come join me in the next video.